Brazil's president is standing up to President Trump over his latest tariff warning. Now, Lula da Silva is vowing to slap a reciprocal 50% tariff on American goods if the Trump administration follows through with their threat. And this all started when the US president threatened Brazil with that same tariff if it does not stop what Trump calls a witch hunt against former President Jair Bolsonaro. He is standing trial for allegedly planning a coup to stay in power after losing his re-election bid to the current President Lula. This was back in 2022. But as I explained, Trump's tariff threat against Brazil is more personal this time than it is business. President Trump is using the economy as a political weapon. He's been saying that tariffs are about leveling the playing field, that there's a trade imbalance, and that the United States is being ripped off by other countries. In the case of Brazil, that is not true. President Trump yet is imposing a 50% tariff on the country. The reason, you ask? A court case against former President Jair Bolsonaro, a case which he says is a witch hunt in this letter and should end immediately. So this is not about business, but about his buddy. The two have been friends since Trump's first term.
Probably because of the relationship that we have, Brazil and the United States have never been closer.
Temos muito a conversar.
And they've been building on that relationship ever since. In 2022, Trump supported Bolsonaro's bid for re-election.
So I strongly endorse President Bolsonaro. He will be your leader for hopefully a long time.
And even though he lost to current President Lula da Silva, Bolsonaro came out for Trump ahead of the 2024 election in the US, praising their exceptional relationship when he appeared at a CPAC convention.
President Bolsonaro, a great honor.
Now back at the White House, Trump using the weight of the office to help his buddy out. But why is Bolsonaro on trial?
They're getting into the Capitol tonight.
Well, remember when Trump supporters stormed the Capitol? Brazil had its own version on January the 8th, 2023. Pro-Bolsonaro protesters broke into Congress and the presidential palace. I was there in the aftermath, and I personally saw the damage the rioters had done, ransacking government buildings, destroying artifacts, including art pieces, even setting some buildings on fire. Prosecutors say they found a connection between the riots and Brazil's former president. And earlier this year, they charged Bolsonaro, along with 33 other people, in connection with an alleged plot to overthrow the government. Those accused deny the charges. For his part, the Brazilian leader says his country has a right to reciprocate the tariffs and has refused to get involved in Bolsonaro's court case, telling Trump to do the same.
This country has laws, this country has rules, and this country has an owner, and that's the Brazilian people. So save your judgments for your own life and keep them out of ours.
So who's going to blink first? I want to bring in Audia Fancelli, who's a political commentator for CNN Portugal, who joins us live from São Paulo. Audia, really appreciate you being with us. Look, this is very clearly, as I just outlined there, this is not about trade imbalance. Brazil actually has a trade surplus with the United States. This is very much about his buddy, as I said, former President Bolsonaro. Can I start by asking you, though, how President Lula is going to retaliate, reciprocate? I know they've been meeting with ministers today. What are you hearing on that front first regarding the 50% tariffs?
Hi, Isa. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. Right now, the Brazilian government is basically in wait-and-see mode. They want to know if these tariffs are actually going to take effect, so they'll likely wait until August 1st before making any big moves. And the challenge for Brazil is clear. How do you respond firmly without falling into a cycle of economic self-sabotage, or worse, triggering a full-blown tariff war that just keeps escalating? Because let's be honest, Brazil knows it's the weaker side to the situation. So could there be retaliation? Sure. But if there is, it's going to have to be smart, like targeting specific sectors that are strategic and sensitive to the United States. One option that has already been discussed is the suspension of U.S. pharmaceutical patents that would allow Brazil to produce local generics of American medications that are currently protected by intellectual property rights. Another possibility, raising taxes on films, books, and other cultural products that involve U.S. copyrights. So yes, Brazil might strike back, but it will be looking for pressure points that actually matter to Washington without hurting its own economy in the process.
And Nadia, look, with other letters that we've seen, this week, I think so far, I've lost count, I think it's about 22 or so letters. There's always been, this is what we want to see, this is a tariff, come to the table, give us something, a better deal, and we then can renegotiate. In this instance, there is none of that. It's very clear this is political. So how much leverage, if any at all, does President Lula have here, do you think?
Well, I understand that it is political, and a lot of people are saying that this move by Donald Trump shows some kind of ideological loyalty to an ally, in this case, Jair Bolsonaro, who was even called at some point the Trump of the tropics. But let's be honest, when we're talking about Trump, there is no real loyalty to anyone. We've seen over and over how he treats his so-called allies. So I'd say it's less about loyalty and more about ideological affinity, one that he uses when he benefits him. Take Elon Musk, for example. One day, you're best friends. The next day, you're enemies. So same pattern. And we can't forget what Bolsonaro did, and you mentioned that very well, in January 2023. So I think with all of this, Trump is trying he's using Bolsonaro as a symbol. He wants to show his own base, his supporters, that they're all victims of the same system, of the same institutions, trying to silence strong leaders, strong men. It fits perfectly with his narrative of the silent hero fighting for freedom.
How has this been playing in Brazil? I mean, this will play right in the hands of Bolsonaro supporters who continue to put out a lot of discrepancies, fake news. How is this playing out in Brazil right now?
Well, we actually see two different views of reactions. One of them is by President Lula, because we have to remember that in October next year, there will be elections. Bolsonaro, he can't run for office because of this coup attempt. So he's not able to run. And he's being tried for that by the Supreme Court. But the Bolsonaro supporters, they still have the hopes that up to the last minute, this decision will be reversed and he'll be able to run again. So we see that Bolsonaro's son, Eduardo, he's a member of Congress. He's been licensed for a few months. He's in the United States. He's actually appointed as one of the people responsible for lobbying Republicans so Donald Trump takes this stance. So what we see now is Lula's supporters being more nationalists. They're actually having a stance that we're more used to seeing on Bolsonaro's side. It's very funny. They're posting the Brazilian flag with green and yellow colors, and Bolsonaro is trying to balance his acts because he needs to show patriotism at the same time. One of the things that is being taken into consideration is Bolsonaro trying to present himself as the problem solver. So I read reports that he might be considering calling Donald Trump and ask for the suspension of the tariffs.
My goodness, how things have evolved. Yura Fancelli, really appreciate it. Thanks, Yura. Good to see you.